Hey, how's it going? So, the new Paladin Chronomancer class. Yeah, we got the skills for it. So, let's go over them. I haven't even read them yet. So, yeah, let's do it. So, recommended enhancements are Healer Wizard. And, okay, this year's class combines the damage mitigation themes of a Paladin with the classic Chronomancer Temporal Rift combo to create a defensive support class that can also output an occasional burst of damage. Okay, so it's about what people assumed it would be based off the name, which sounds pretty cool. There's the mana regen model. They get mana when they strike an enemy in combat, more effective on crits, are struck by an enemy, or under the effects of spirits within, restores 30 mana over 5 seconds. I imagine that's a skill that they have, so yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, the auto attack. So, first skill. Max target is 1, melee range, on a 2.5-second cooldown, and the damage dealt is based on your current health. So, kind of an interesting auto attack. We'll have to see how that plays out. Okay, so your first actual skill is a single target skill as well with 5 mana cost on a 3-second cooldown. Pretty short cooldown. Deals damage and applies Temporal Rift to yourself for 30 seconds, stacks to 4, and is used for other abilities. Also applies Ascendancy and Reprisal to your target, reducing their dodge, crit chance, outgoing damage, and defense by 10% for 10 seconds, up to 5 stacks. If Indomitable is active, applies Radiant Light, a dot based on your current HP, lasts 8 seconds, and doesn't refresh. Alright, next skill, Holy Vow. This is a friendly one, up to 6 targets, infinite range, on a 40 mana cost for a 5-second cooldown. That's a lot of mana. So, use your Holy Magic to conjure a protective ward. Heals you and your allies based on the number of Temporal Rift stacks you have while applying Holy Shield, increasing physical and magical defense by 25% for 10 seconds. If Guardian Angel is active, it is consumed to imply intervention, a massive HOT for 5 seconds. So this seems like your big heal, big defense skill. Yeah, very Paladin-like. Good to see. Alright, the next ability is also a big defense ability, which is cool to see. So max targets is 6, infinite range, 20 mana cost, so a lot less than last one, half, and 40-second cooldown on this one. The light emits from within you massively heals you and your allies while applying Indomitable, increasing your endurance by 500% for 5 seconds. Applies Guardian Angel to you and your allies for 15 seconds. Next use of Holy Vow consumes it to apply intervention for 5 seconds, a massive HOT, always crits. Yeah, so it seems like combining these two skills, that's a lot of staying alive right there for your team. Alright, fifth skill. One target, it costs 10 mana, it's melee range, 20-second cooldown, unleash the full might of your Holy Magic. If Temporal Rift is active, deals damage to your target based on the amount you've dealt in up to the past 10 seconds while it was active. Damage scales with each stack of Temporal Rift and consumes those stacks. Applies Divine Reckoning for 10 seconds, a damage over time that does more damage the lower your magic point is. Also applies Spirit Within, restoring 30 mana over 5 seconds. Undead targets are also stunned for 3 seconds. Can't crit. So, I like how they just threw in the undead targets are stunned thing. That might actually come into play if they ever have or is there an ultra boss that's undead? It might be helpful, but you usually can't even stun ultra bosses. So yeah, the 3-second stun on undead, that's just in there for flavor, I'd imagine. It might have its uses, but we'll see. But yeah, it seems pretty decent. So you got kind of a nuke there with the Temporal Rift, which is common in counter classes. Yeah, using up your stacks there to deal damage. Having it also restore your mana is going to be good for getting your team fight abilities up to these two, Holy Vow and Divine Intervention, getting those back up because these are 40, 20 mana costs, so you need the mana back, right? So using this one could help with that, being only 10 mana costs and giving you 30 over 5 seconds. So yeah, pretty good. All right, we have passives. So rank 4 is a 50% endurance increase. Also at rank 4, you get a hit chance of 10% increase and defense increase by 20%. And at rank 10, you have haste increased by 10% and healing power by 10. I never get the whole point of passives. They're kind of just like the baseline for a class. But yep, there if you want to know. Alright, I'll read out the conclusion because I think it's kind of important to know what the class designers think of their own class. and kind of gets you informed on what the expectations for the class should be. Paladin Chronomancer is a relatively simple to use class that brings some very unique properties to the table. While its damage output may not be as high as previous counter classes, it makes up for it in the incredible survivability tools that are sure to get you and your teammates through the thick of battle. The core gameplay of the class revolves around stacking Temporal Rift and Radiant Rift to eventually deliver a powerful blow with Divine Retribution, as Divine Retribution's damage is based on the amount of damage dealt while under the effects of Temporal Rift. You want to be outputting as much damage as possible before using it. That's where Hammer of Virtue comes in. Hammer of Virtue is one of a kind auto attack, as its damage is based on the amount of HP you have, rather than your weapon damage. This means that the more HP you have, the more damage the skill does. But the same goes the other way. So if you're close to death, you'll end up doing less damage. However, there are plenty of ways to keep your HP topped off. Holy Vow is a low cooldown heal that restores a good chunk of HP at the cost of using a lot of mana. More on this later. While Divine Intervention is a high cooldown, party-wide full heal that also grants you a whopping 500% endurance buff, which, as you may have guessed, significantly increases the damage of Hammer of Virtue for a short period of time, while also causing Radiant Rift to apply an HP-based damage over time for even more damage. On the support side of things, Radiant Rift applies some significant debuffs to your enemy to severely reduce the damage output, while Holy Vow heals your party members and applies a strong defense buff. But Divine Intervention is where the class really shines. Not only does it grant you a large endurance buff, it also applies the Guardian Angel aura to you and your party members. While Guardian Angel is active, your next use of Holy Vow consumes it and applies one of the most powerful HOT effects in the game to everyone. So powerful that it could be considered effectively temporary invincibility, as long as you don't get one shot. How do you decide to use Paladin Chronomancer is up to you. Will you use Divine Intervention on cooldown to maximize your Hammer of Virtue and Divine Retribution damage, or will you save it for when your party members are in dire need of healing? Will you continuously use Holy Vow to reduce your mana to the point where Divine Retribution's damage over time reaches its strongest, or will you save it for when you're at max stack of Temporal Rift and when you want to do the largest heal possible? Whether you choose to focus on dealing more damage or healing your teammates, Paladin Chronomancer will get the job done. Alright, so after reading through that whole thing, and if there's anyone still listening after all that, thanks for listening. Anyway, but Paladin Chronomancer, my final thoughts after reading through the skills. Of course, we're not using it. I think it probably will be a somewhat of a meta class in the game, which is kind of worrying considering it's got a $20 price tag on it as well at the same time. So even when it is available in game and not through Hero Mart, it's still gonna cost 6,000 ACs. So yeah, but this might just be, we'll see. There might be a big downside it has that we're not seeing through this. That kind of balances it out a bit, but it just seems like a very overpowered, like keeping your team alive class, kind of replacing the Arch Paladin role to an extent. You might see, what if you combine this with Arch Paladin? Then what? Well, we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, it looks really good. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.